Welcome to TOSB Conversation Starters. We are speaking with Nirupama Subramaniam, author of the book Powerful, The Indian Woman's Guide to Unlocking Her Full Potential. Nirupama is an entrepreneur, leadership development coach, and facilitator, and of course, a leading voice on women's leadership and gender equality. Welcome back to the show, Nirupama.
Thank you so much.
The last time you took us through the 6 archetypes of feminine power, a model that you use to help women recognize and tap into their innate talents and inclinations. So let's delve a bit now into how this approach can be brought into the workplace. How do you feel organizations can benefit from it?
Yeah. So I think there is wide applicability of the model. And personally, for me, I work as a coach, I work as a facilitator, and I am from the, you can call the corporate world, right? From after doing my MBA, I worked in the corporate world. And now with my, firm, Growing Leadership of Women, we focused predominantly on supporting women at the workplace to not, I won't call it just to succeed, but to thrive really. And if you look at not just research, but even lived experience, you find that very simply, there are very few women at the workplace. Secondly, there are even fewer women at positions of power. And when you look at that, and that's because for many, many years, I would say thousands of years, there were four strategies, in fact, which was used, if by what I can call the patriarchy or the world, to keep women from their power. And and these are the 4Ds. If I were to quickly talk about them, the first is deterrence. Right? Deterrence is really using the fear of punishment or coercion to prevent women from stepping out of their boundaries. Like, we've all heard of the Lakshman Rekha. So women have typically been told your place is at the home, don't step out, it's a dangerous world out there. If you go there and stick your neck out, bad things will happen to you. So there are actually many women who don't feel powerful and who will not even, go out, if I would say, firstly, venture out into the workplace. So that's the deterrence. The second one is diminish. And if and I do a lot of leadership programs for women, and one of the first, and I think number one thing that comes up is self doubt and lack of self confidence. And when and managers say these women are so capable, but they will not apply for a promotion. And there's a very interesting study, I think it was done by HP, which was trying to figure out why we don't have women in leadership positions. And they found that when they open up jobs for promotions, women apply for that only if they feel that they will meet 100% of the required criteria and they're sure to get it. Men will apply if they think I have a 60% chance of getting it, or I meet only 60% of the criteria. So where does this come from? It really comes from the strategy of diminish, which is making somebody feel they are small, incapable, less competent. And women have always been told you can't do this, you are fragile, right? You are an abala, you're not capable of doing anything apart from these, childbearing or caring activities. So, and this affects us very, very deeply because the messaging we get throughout our childhood somehow makes women feel a little less. When I coach women, a lot of them say, I really don't speak up in these meetings with senior people. I'm not very sure. I keep thinking, should I open my mouth or not? And then the moment passes by. Right? So that's because of the diminished strategy, which has worked for thousands of years. And the third one is what I call decorate. And the decorate strategy is used to make people feel that they have to live up to a particular standard to be rewarded. And the reward they get is a mere decoration. So a woman has to be the ideal mother, the ideal wife, the daughter, ideal daughter-in-law, and the standards of perfection that we hold women up to are much higher than for men. So, a woman at the workplace also feels that she has to be perfect at work. She also has to make sure that her home is managed extremely well. And she has to do her caregiving activities and she has to show up for family functions. Otherwise, she is not a good woman, girl, sister, mother, whatever it is. And the decorate strategy operates at a very subtle level. And we say, women, you are super moms, you're great multitaskers. But the effect is it makes us feel really exhausted. It makes us feel we don't have the energy to do everything that we have to and live up to the norms that the world has set upon us. And this is again another reason why many women drop off even at a later stage, because it becomes very energy draining. That God, you just have to live up to these unrealistic ideals. So if you become a leader, you know, the standards by which women leaders are judged are far more severe and harsh than male leaders. You really can't afford to make a mistake. You have to keep proving yourself. And the fourth strategy is divide, which is really pitting women against each other. Women often become the watchdogs of the patriarchy, and even at the workplace, you will see that there are very few positions of power. So sometimes there's a kind of an artificial conflict created between women themselves that keeps them from reaching for higher positions. So a lot of energy drain goes in seeing, you know, whether I'm smarter, prettier, thinner, whatever, as compared to the other woman, rather than just focusing on what needs to be done. So these four strategies operate together separately to keep women from coming into their full power, especially at the workplace. And you see this at all levels.
Absolutely. And the concept of superwoman really, I mean, you've hit the nail on the head that all the women feel pressurized with the whole thing of, being a super mom and a super colleague and a super leader. So
Yeah.
that's so right. So, you've rightly pointed out the why of the problem. And the
Mm,
good news is that organizations these days, they want to fix it. They want to take some
exactly.
meaningful
Right.
measures to solve the problem and to make the situation better. So now that you speak about these six feminine powers, so how do you think that these feminine powers, this model, will help women achieve this goal, and we'll see more women in the leadership?
Yes, absolutely. And that's really the intent here of creating this model. Of course, there are many, many things that will go into it, both external factors as well as, internal factors. And that's where the model comes in, right? To get to positional power, which is what a leadership position will give you, you first need to access your personal power. And I truly believe women's empowerment is not something that somebody else has to come from outside and bestow upon women. We first need to access our inner powers. But very often we're not able to do that, either because of, centuries of being powerless, and most importantly because we are not even aware of many things that are going on within us. Load of internal biases, right? The external biases are there. We do workshops on unconscious bias. Women can't do this, mothers don't make good leaders. So all those are external biases. But time and time again, what women and leaders tell us is it's not the external, it's the internal chatter that you have to deal with. It's the internal interference that you need to work on. The mindset that I can't do this, I'm not capable, what will happen to my house, I'll be a bad mother, I can't stay back late. All those kinds of things are really what comes in the way of women claiming their full power as a leader, as an employee. So what the six feminine powers model does is gives a very easy, and I have seen that it's easy in the last 1 year that I've used it. So that's why I can confidently say it's an easy, relevant, and a resonant way to enhance self-awareness. So when you see your feminine power, and I have coaching conversations, and now we have a team of certified coaches who do this as well, you can just see the things falling into place. And there is an aha moment where, now a woman says, now I know why this is happening. Now I can understand why I'm holding myself back. Now I understand I have this power, but I have never used it because my thinking around that has been completely different. So, one, it gives a very easy doorway for self awareness. You don't have to go and meditate in the mountains for, 12 months. You don't always have to get this aha moment. Here is a simple, pragmatic, relevant tool to enhance your self awareness. And not just that, right? Not stopping with awareness. You're self aware, but hey, so what? What the tool also does, and what I have stated in my book, are very simple practices that you can do to enhance any one of these or all powers. Right? It's like building a muscle. You don't build a muscle overnight. You have to go to the gym and you have to work. And if you want bigger biceps, you have to do an exercise. If you want, better quadriceps, you have to do a different exercise, and you have to be consistent. So, and I actually share different practices that women can do after awareness to build the powers. And these are in three domains. There's the body. We often neglect the body, but the body is often the first way where it shows up. And many people have come back and said, now the way I am present in meetings is different. I sit up straight, I look more confident, and my body language has changed. So in the book, I actually give different ways of how you can adopt a body practice to channel a power. I do yoga quite regularly. I'm a great fan and believer of yoga. I actually tell, and yoga is actually shown to make shifts not only in your body but also your mind. So the body is one axis. The second way to move into action is affirmations, which are nothing but reframing your negative mindsets as more positive statements, right? Really working with the mind and shifting the mind and thinking of yourself as I am powerful, I'm courageous, I'm strong, beautiful. So, whatever affirmations you want to have to outweigh the negative mindsets. And the thirdly is what I call intentional actions. And when women come in for coaching, when they come in for workshops around this model, we actually tell them to look at specific actions that will evoke a power or remove a power block. So women can actually use this to get self-aware, to understand themselves and their goals better, and then take the necessary actions to harness the particular power they need to become leaders. And I'll say leaders in the context of leaders of their life as well as leaders in their respective organizations. So what we're doing now is embedding this tool in any leadership intervention for women, because we are seeing the results when women are able to have something that speaks their language, speaks to them. The breakthroughs, the actionables come in much faster, and it's much easier to do that.
Great, more power to you. Really, hoping that more and more women feel the strength and they are able to, scale the heights they want to and they should. But, another
Absolutely.
conversation that is catching attention these days is that, okay, we are preparing strong women and we are doing so many things.
Yeah.
You are working, on the leadership interventions with women. But what about the men? Are the
Yeah.
men prepared to, have these empowered women and workplace around them? What is your take on this?
So the simple answer is they better get ready for for this, because hey, the change is happening, it's coming. And to be fair, I think I have met more, how shall I say, more allies at the workplace than men who are actively against any of this. So I think, let me say, I believe in positive intent. The fact that DNI is being driven by leaders, and today most of the leaders are men across organizations, and they are driving a DNI agenda because not for any humanitarian reason as much as it makes strong business sense. So, firstly, I think the intent is there, but the awareness and readiness may not be there in terms of how to deal with women. And after the Me Too movement, and after let's say a lot of laws that have been passed to safeguard women's rights, we are seeing a variety of different reactions from the men. There are those who are openly antagonistic, which is really like, we don't need women, women can't do this. That's a minority in the modern corporate workplace, but it definitely exists. It exists not only at the workplace, but at home, where fathers, where husbands are really not willing to see their, the women in their lives, their daughters or wives, really shine at the workplace. So I think it's really what is important, I think, is education of men, just as we educate women. It's important for men to understand the value of having women at the workplace in terms of bringing more innovation, creativity, diversity. So one, that's the education. Secondly, I think the biggest reason why men don't want it is fear. you fear of change, fear of the world not being the kind of world that you expect it to be. Right? In fact, give you some examples. Like there was a male leader who was saying, hey, now with more women at the workplace, we have to be careful about our language. We can't use these galis at the workplace. So, and I think that's great. I mean, why would you want to use those at the workplace if it's, so they were like, we have to be very mindful and we have to be careful as more women start coming into the workplace. And I think if it promotes good professional behavior, why not? So there are men also, I think, who feel insecure and threatened. And it's very important to understand that men and women are more powerful together rather than separately. Right? Which is why you have this institution of marriage, which brings them together intentionally, because a family unit needs both masculine and feminine energies. Similarly, the workplace, any place, I would say planet Earth, needs masculine and feminine energies, and one is not threatening or encroaching the other. So I think it's very important for us to educate men. It's also important, and that third thing I would say, it's important for us to empower men as well. And what does male empowerment look like is really allowing men, let's say, the ease of showing their emotions, allowing men to be vulnerable, allowing men to take a break from work and not always have to carry the burden of being the provider and protector, allowing the feminine energy to impact the men so that they can be more fully who they are and they want to be. So I think, as we start doing this work with women and telling them how they can succeed in a world that was originally designed for men, eventually we need to change the rules of work as well so that it accommodates not just both genders, that it really becomes a more caring, open, acceptable workplace. And that is going to benefit men as much as it benefits women. So I always, tell my clients that it's great we're doing women leadership programs, but parallelly, we must do work across the organizations around inclusive leadership, unconscious bias. How can we help, and I'm actually using the word help, the men to work with and deal with more women at the workplace and shed some of their burdens and barriers and wounds, which many men carry, but may not have the luxury of being open about it as much as women can. So both needs to have, happen simultaneously. And I think any load, right? Any load is lessened when you have two people to carry it rather than just one. So giving the share of domestic work to men, just as women are taking up work outside of the home, is also extremely important. So can we empower men at home to do some of the things so that it makes it easier for the women outside? And therefore, how can women also take on some of this load of being the provider, and how can they bring their unique feminine qualities to the workplace so that it makes it a better workplace for both of them? So I think that is also extremely important.
Great. I think powerful together is a very, very, nice thought. Collaboration, not competition. I think that's the thing that we all need to understand as corporate individuals. So before we close, Nirupama, while, you gave us a lot of interesting insights and lessons, but going back to the IWD 2023 theme of embracing equity, what is that one idea you want to leave with our listeners today?
Yeah, I think, and I'm going to go back to powerful. I think it's just important to believe in your own power and believe that sharing power works better than hoarding power. So share your power with everybody, let your light shine, and that will help all of us towards a more better world where we all can feel and be more powerful.
Share your power. That's a very, very impactful thought. Thank you so much, Nirupama. It's been a pleasure spending time with you and exploring the idea of feminine powers and enabled, empowered, male workforce also. I'm sure all our listeners, irrespective of their gender, will find it very useful to understand this approach and especially how it's necessary for business in developing gender diversity. If you would like to invite Nirupama to your organization this Women's Day for a dialogue on gender diversity, coaching sessions, keynotes, reach out to our team at the Outstanding Speakers Bureau. I'm Shreya Pirani, and this is TOSB Conversation Starters.